Hi, welcome to Math 76, Lesson 133. In this lesson, we are going to talk about experimental and theoretical probability. Now, I took two dice, I have two die, and I rolled them 36 times. And I recorded the numbers that I rolled and the times that those numbers came up. So you can do this at home if you want, but with the 36 pairs of dice in the roll, what number, looking at our chart, what number or numbers occurred more frequently? Now, when we look at this, we see that between maybe 4 and 8, 4 and 9, those occurred more frequently. Those numbers are more in the middle. We could look at what numbers occurred less frequently. 2 and 3 were a lot less frequent. They only got those once in my 36 rolls. And then 10, 11, and 12, I only got each of those twice out of 36 rolls. Now, I don't know if there's any patterns that you would notice. I noticed that the rolls occurred more often in the middle of the numbers. But basically what we've done, or what I did by rolling the dice, was experimental probability. So I did an experiment to determine the likelihood of an event. The probability that's determined by the data that we collected, or that I collected, is experimental probability. Now, we see that the probability of rolling a 7 and an 8 is higher than the probability of rolling a 1 or a 12. And that's something I noticed for my experimental data. Now, there's another way of recording it, which we call theoretical probability. Now, I've made a chart. Here, and I'm going to turn this down so it's not distracting. But in this chart is the calculation of a probability of an event to occur. So by analyzing a particular event and not by performing it repeatedly, but using this chart, we can calculate the theoretical probability of rolling a selected number with a pair of dice. So the chart shows 36 equally likely results. So just like I rolled 36 times, this chart has 36 possibilities or results from rolling a pair of dice. Only one of the results is a 2. So if I roll the dice, there's only 1 2 on this chart. And only one of the results down here is a 12. So the probability of rolling a 2 is 1 in 36. So we see there's 36 and there's only 1 2 in there. So there is a 1 in 36 probability of rolling a 2. And there's a 1 in 36 probability of rolling a 12. Now the chart shows that 3 of the results are a 4. So if I look and I want to see what the probability of rolling a 4 is, I see that 1, 2, 3. 3 occurs 4 times on my chart. The result of 4 is if, let's say, if a 1 is rolled on the first dice and a 3 is rolled on the second dice, we get a 4. If a 1 is rolled on the second dice and a 3 is rolled on the first dice, we get a 4. Or if 2, and I'm sorry, I was showing that and I don't think you could see it. So if 2 is rolled on the dice, or if a 1 and a 3 is rolled, or on 1 and a 3. Those are the 3 ways that we could get a 4. That is likely to occur 3 out of 36 times. So the probability of rolling a 4 is 3 out of 36. And we see on our chart, the 4 appears 3 times. So if we were looking at this chart and I asked, what is the probability of rolling a 6? And I'm going to move up closer on the chart so you can see it better. Okay. Now I'm going to ask, what is the probability of rolling a 6 with one roll of both dice? So if I rolled my 2 dice what is the probability that I would roll a 6? I want you to look at the chart. Well, they're still rolling. Look at the chart and see if you can figure out the probability. And I'm going to give you a minute. Well, a few seconds. All right, so we look at this chart. Let's see how many times 6 occurs on this chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 occurs 5 times. So according to this chart, the theoretical probability of rolling a 6 is 5/36. Now, what I want you to remember, experimental probability is when data is collected from experiment. So when you actually do an experiment and collect the data, that is an experimental probability. Theoretical probability is when you are theorizing, when you have made a chart analyzing the probability of a particular event. So in this case, we use dice for our experiment and our theoretical probability. But again, experimental probability is when you do something. Theoretical probability is when you make a chart and use that to estimate the probability. Now, in our practice before the lesson, there is a bar graph that displays the theoretical probability, and I'd like you to look at that and practice. There's 2 questions. Go and look at that, answer those 2 questions, and then check your work in Canvas under the practice page to see if you understood it.